Oh yes, my Straight Talk family. You've heard that theme song, and you know it is past the time for another edition of Straight Talk. And it's past the time for me to say good night to St. Kitts and Nevis, and good night to the world. But I must also apologize for what is a tardy start tonight. Suppose I say to you that I felt like our Prime Minister, Dr. Drew. That's how I felt tonight. I felt like coming to you and saying nothing, absolutely nothing. Because Dr. Drew comes to the country, and each time he says absolutely nothing to the country. But that being aside for now, my Straight Dog family, it is time for me again to say good night to St. Kitts and Nevis. Good night to the entire Caribbean region. We go as far south as Trinidad and Tobago, or rather we go on the mainland, the South American mainland, to Guyana, Venezuela, and beyond. And we come up north from Trinidad and Tobago. We come up north to Barbados, to St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, to Dominica, Martinique, Guadeloupe, next door, Antigua and Barbuda. And how could I skip past Montserrat? We do have a lot of Straight Talk family in Montserrat, and we greet them. We greet our folks next door in St. Eustatius, Sabre, St. Bartholomew, St. Bas, as we say, St. Martin, Anguilla, the BVI, Anegada, Virgin Gorda, and Totola. How is the USVI, St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix? Puerto Rico, how art thou? Then we go to the mainlands. On the World Wide Web, we have our diaspora all over the world, in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, and all over North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I can say good morning, and I will say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And we welcome you wherever you are, my Straight Talk family. And I know we started late, but trust me, I'm going to give you back that time as long as you need it. Whatever you say, we do. But just to welcome our first timers, and I want to thank all of my Straight Talk family who continue to share this link and get our brothers and sisters in tune with what's happening in the country. So for our first timers, let me just inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, we do have a forum on which you can express yourselves freely. On this program, we also try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly, my Straight Talk family, we alert you as well to your obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liebert, and I thank Almighty God for blessing me with another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And I want to dispel the notion that I am other than your untiring advocate of truthfulness. I want to reaffirm that on Straight Talk, nothing is watered down in any way, whether by omission or exaggeration. We don't get sensational to make our discussions more interesting. I want to also reassure you that I consider it my duty to always present the unvarnished truth, the plain truth, and my Straight Talk family, nothing else but the truth when it comes to governance in my country. We have a lot of young brigades, and I meet them from day to day. Some don't want to be called because, in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have a strange but loving country. We're easily ostracized because of a view we express or because of an association with somebody. But let me say hi to Tristan. I hope you reminded Mom that tonight is Straight Talk. Shama, my good young friend and son over there in Frigate Bay. Trust you are also logged in with your mom and your granddad and your grandma. Kevin Hanley in Nevis, I haven't heard from you for some time. Trust that your new school environment is pleasing. You have well adjusted well at the Charleston Secondary School. And trust you're doing well. Dwayne, young Dwayne, mama, papa, that's all you say. But trust you are as well in tune that your mom give you a little hug for me. And there's this special lady in St. Louis. Everybody keep asking me, who is this special lady? She knows and I know. She will be on Straight Talk sometime soon. But to all the special people, everyone is special, I must say. I know the queen, my queen there in Texas. She keeps wondering, who is this special lady? But my Straight Talk family, all of you, we say welcome. We normally start with our observations in review. I haven't heard of any more obituaries in the event that they are and have missed it. I trust and hope that you will remain strong if you have lost loved ones. And just to again remind you that death is a process. I had a good chat with my brother from another mother of a long time, D.V. Freights, Derek V. Freights. He won't like me to tell you what's the V for. You know, he lost his sister, and he told me he lost a brother just last week. And I asked him about another brother I knew, and he told me that his brother was dead as well. And he and his sister are the only ones remaining. So Derek, be strong, my brother. As we move into our observations, which is the time when we highlight the issues of the day and do some reflection, we may then ask a few questions such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others, what has changed since, and what can be expected next. Also, what new we have learned of as a people. And my Straight Talk family, I saw the Facebook news about the distribution of water tanks in the St. Peter's area. And I'm happy for the people of that area who are getting some relief because of the situation, or the water situation as we call it. And we hope and trust that there will be a permanent solution in the near future. Because truth be told, the solution is utilizing the water that surrounds our beautiful islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. And as a matter of fact, over 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered with water, the ocean. And we cannot deplete the ocean. So why on earth don't we go to reverse osmosis or desalination? We can't done the sea. This nonsense about desalination is expensive. It's just nonsense. We can solarize the plants. I said to someone just a few days ago. But the fact that we have moved to procure water tanks, and they look like teacup tanks, as someone said to me, that they look like the thimble tanks. We call them thimbles. You remember those thimbles that your granny and your mommy used to use, or perhaps still use, to thread the needles? Those are what the water tanks look like. But I am troubled, though. I'm still troubled because $5.8 million was spent. And this amount of money under the office of the Prime Minister was spent without or totally ignoring the procurement process. But $5.8 million for 1,000 tanks, to me, sounds like expensive, exorbitant tanks. And I believe that somebody or bodies are smiling to the bank. And one of such persons smiling to the bank is my good friend, Ashley Allers. Because $5.8 million for some tea tanks, it's high, it's expensive. Why should those tanks cost so much money? But these are questions I know will be answered in due course, because Jew never answers questions. My second observation has to do with the agenda of this administration, or the lack thereof an agenda. In all sectors, there seems to be no plan to move the various sectors in this country: health, infrastructure, tourism, agriculture. And speaking about the agriculture sector, I went to a supermarket this morning and I pushed my trolley in a jolly way, knowing that the prices every time you go to the supermarket just keep progressively going up and up, increasing. I overheard a young lady saying today, "Buy poor people food gone high," only to recognize she was speaking about mackerel. She said mackerel is almost $22 a pound. That's our poor people food. Poor people can't afford to buy that. But I went to the supermarket and the shelves were empty. Empty, my straight dog family, as I say, empty shelves. And what is the Minister of Agriculture doing in terms of agriculture? He talks about some 25 always, whatever the hell he means, only time will tell. But instead of putting shelves or ensuring that the food is made available for people to eat in St. Kitts and Nevis and at an affordable cost, the ministers went to the US of A to visit a pepper sauce factory, Tabasco, to be exact. And we have so much hot sauce here, real hot sauce, the Brimstone Hill, and the list goes on. But there's the minister, his permanent secretary and others, gone to visit Tabasco. And someone asked me, I wonder if Samal wants to give us pepper in the goat water. You know, we heard long time about bones in the rice and pepper in the soup. Someone said, beware of Samal Duggins, because he sure plans to give us pepper in our goat water. And my Straight Talk family, nothing is happening in the country. Nothing is going on. Not go on, as my friend would say. But since we started late, I'm going to stop I'll just present those two observations in review for tonight and move right into my thesis, which I have titled The Book of Mark, chapters 1 to 6. Again, the Book of Mark, chapters 1 to 6, my Straight Dog family. And I know when you heard about the Book of Mark, I'm sure many of you thought about Mark's Gospel or the Gospel of Mark, which is a simple, clearly expressed, plain, yet vivid account of Jesus' ministry, emphasizing more what Jesus did rather than what he said. But I told you before that some time ago, Mark Brantley made an interesting revelation to all and sundry. To wit, he said, and I quote him, I am writing a book. Remember he said this, my Straight Dog family.
I've heard a lot of chatter, and I don't really bother with the chatter because, as I said, in the fullness of time, some book will be written and people will have an opportunity to sit and read and understand all the dynamics that were at work. The leader of NRP is out of touch. And one day, voila, handpicked. And we'll get that. That will be a chapter in my book as well in terms of who handpicked her. I know how this happened. I know there's 3 people who were involved. And the final decision rested not in Nevis, but in St. Kitts. And the truth is going to be told because Nevisians need to understand what has happened and what was happening. The decision on the NRP leader was made in St. Kitts, not in Nevis. They were required to just rubber stamp because that decision was made on high in exchange for promised funding for the election.
And my Straight Talk family, recall I named that book in a preemptive strike, I can confess that the book that Mark Brantley will write would be what I call a book of lies. Now, my Straight Talk family, and before I move forward, someone sent me a note about, I did mention about the obituaries, and someone reminded me of the Wilson family in Old Road on the passing of their brother. I'm trying to remember his name. I actually was the permanent secretary in agriculture at the time. He was head of the cooperatives, but I did hear of his passing. That's correct. That's an oversight, and I extend my condolences to the Wilson family over there in Old Road. But getting back to the Book of Lies, it was my preview was based on the preamble to this book, which was provided by Mark Brantley himself on a radio program, in what can be described as the introductory and expressionary statement to this book that explain the purpose and underlying philosophy of a fickle, unfaithful character who in his 16 years of political representation has frequently changed his loyalties and or affections and turned his heels against his own leader, the late Vance Winkworth Amory, or Amory he would prefer to be called, who recruited him to the CCM, only to find out that Mark Brantley was vulnerable to sudden, unpredictable changes of mood and or mind. The content of his book, predictably, will be laced with lies, and as such, no matter its title, I have taken the liberty, as I said, to name it a book of lies. But given his current relationship with Dr. Drew, also the current fiscal situation in Nevis, unless things radically change, which can be expected from a character like Brantley, the author would never write, for example, that Brantley spent his whole political career fighting against Labour Party, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party to be exact. But Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge moved quickly, having expressed in her way that she too will write a book. And she moved quickly from chapter 1 in her book that chronicled the failures of a man, his party, and the government he leads. Each episode in Brantley's political life quite often using the word or adverb incompetence. From the insight given by Janice Daniel Hodge, the book as a whole will characterize Brantley from his beginning, his life of corruption, arrogance, and a lack of accountability for running the economy of Nevis into near bankruptcy. Mark Brantley, my straight talk family, or the dismal failures of Mark Brantley aside, from the undermining of his political colleagues, in his campaign for a fair share of the CBI monies, this has now forced him to explore a relationship with Dr. Terence Drew, our new Prime Minister. But while the details of Mark's departure from his fair share rantings are not suddenly clear, we can gather that the many mistakes made as the needs of Mark Brantley have now become greater than his mission under the Team Unity administration, of which he was a part, and undermine that administration until its demise, right until its very end. But there's a view in some quarters that Prime Minister Terence Drew has faced far greater challenges in a short period of time than almost all his predecessors. But this view is based on a false premise, I submit respectfully, when compared with the leadership demonstrated by Prime Minister Timothy Harris, especially during the period of 2020 or late 2019 to 2022, when the whole world screeched to a complete halt because of the coronavirus-induced pandemic, and a pandemic never seen in 100 years, a whole century. Harris's management of the country during this period will be recorded, I underline that, will be recorded in history as one of the most notable achievements that were guided by a life-first strategy My straight dog family.
On the 24th of March 2020, we were all in shock at the news of the first 2 imported cases of COVID-19 into our Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. As the Prime Minister and leader of this country, for me it was a call to action, and I sought to calm the nation, knowing that we had done all the necessary preparedness for this eventuality. We kept science always at the core of every decision we made and were not swayed by the detractors. Our strategy had as its main principle saving the lives of our people. It was a life-first strategy. Saving the lives.
My straight dog family. Across the channel in Nevis, on the other hand, there is a premier and leader who in another country with different legislation would have been already impeached or taken before a special prosecutor for a full investigation for improprieties and a total lack of accountability when it comes to the spending of people's money. Taxpayers' money. Money belonging to you and me. I say so because Mark Brantley, as leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition in Parliament, has made no attempt to operationalize the Public Accounts Committee in the National Assembly. What is the Public Accounts Committee, or PAC, you may ask? And the standing orders of the National Assembly are in effect the rules of procedure governing the work of the Assembly. Much of the Assembly's work is carried out by various committees. One such committee is the PAC, the Public Accounts Committee. And Standing Order 70, number 70, states that there shall be a standing committee to be known as the Public Accounts Committee. My straight dog family. And the standing orders of the National Assembly are quite clear. My straight dog family, the standing orders of the National Assembly may be cited, as I said, the orders rather of the National Assembly may be cited, that particular order, as I said before, the standing orders of the National Assembly, my straight dog family. And you will glean from my post on your screens. And it states quite clearly, my straight dog family, it states quite clearly for section 70 that there shall be a standing order of the National Assembly to be known as the Public Accounts Committee. It also states that the Public Accounts Committee shall consist of not less than 3 nor more than 5 members of the House, drawn from both sides of the National Assembly. And it goes on that the National Assembly shall from time to time appoint a member of the committee to be chairperson of the committee, and may appoint any other member or another member of the National Assembly, beg your pardon, to fill any vacancy in the membership of the committee occurring from time to time. And my straight dog family, we may continue, or we should continue, that the standing orders, as I said before, my straight dog family, that section 4 of the standing orders outlines the duties and powers of the Accounts Committee. Subsection A, it says one of such duties is to ascertain that the authorized expenditure during each financial year, including supplementary expenditure, has been applied to the purposes prescribed by the legislature. And B, to scrutinize the causes which may have led to any excess over authorized expenditure and to verify applications of savings on other authorized items of expenditure. And C, to make an effective examination of public accounts and to summon any public officer to give information or any explanation or to produce any records, my straight dog family, or documents which the committee may consider necessary in the performance of its duties. My straight dog family, but going beyond the issues or the things I've just outlined, going beyond them, the Team Unity Administration in 2017 passed into law the Public Accounts Act or Bill, which sought to bring into being and set the legal framework for the functioning of the Public Accounts Committee that will provide oversight on public expenditure in particular, my straight dog family. And these are quite clear, my straight dog family. It also spoke to the chairperson of that committee, which says the chairperson, or there shall be a chairperson of the committee pursuant to the provision of section 70, subsection 3 of the standing orders, and if the leader of the opposition is a member of the committee, he or she shall be offered the option to chair the committee before all other members, my straight dog family. And quite interesting, my straight dog family. But truth be told, the establishment of a functioning Public Accounts Committee and the Act essentially opened the government to public scrutiny, so that those in office cannot hide the public business from the people. But no matter what nonsense Dr. Jude tries to peddle, it was the Team Unity Administration, led by Timothy Harris, that unlike the Douglas Labour administration that was rejected in 2015, under Tim Harris and his Team Unity-led administration, the country was opened up to an unprecedented level of accountability and scrutiny. But right now, the people cannot trust Dr. Jew and his cabinet to do the right thing, because every time he's asked a question, he never provides the answer. And like most times, or all times I can dare say, this morning our intelligence again was insulted by Dr. Joe. Asked a simple question about the CBI prison project, he did not answer. Across the channel in Nevis, it's no different, as Brantley himself avoids any response to pertinent questions when asked about the Social Security last week. No one can reasonably disagree that the public interest would be better served once information is freely given. Since the federal elections in the year 2000, my research reveals that there have been at least 3 public accounts committees formed in St. Kitts and Nevis. But not one of those committees ever functioned. And believe it or not, Mark Brantley chaired 2 of those 3 committees as the leader of the opposition in the federal parliament. Mark Brantley was on the government benches as well, my straight dog family, when the Public Accounts Committee bill was passed in 2017. He was on the government benches, and you can look at him and see him there on the government benches. Just look clearly and tell yourselves, or tell me, if you see Mark Brantley. Yes, and he supported the legislation. Look at the snake, my straight dog family, in 2017 in Parliament, and he supported that bill. The Public Accounts Committee bill passed to provide better oversight on public expenditure. And that was debated over 2 days and passed on Friday, August the 11th, in the House of Assembly to provide better oversight on public expenditure. My straight dog family, I can say the rest is history. Because 6 years later, Brantley is back on the opposition benches. And as leader of the opposition, he must again chair the Public Accounts Committee, which should act as a watchdog of the Parliament that provides oversight on public expenditure. But how could he, in good conscience, ensure that this is done when in the Nevis Island legislature, he failed as Premier to accommodate the appointment of the NRP representative as leader of the opposition? The Douglas Labour administration benefited from Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability, PIFA, and its assessment framework back in 2010 as part of an intervention from the European Union, particularly in the post-sugar era, in which the EU attempted to demonstrate to us how the administration can help to bring into the sunshine public accountability in respect of or to or of the activities of the government. My straight dog family, the standing orders, as I said before, outline the duties and powers of the Public Accounts Committee, and among other things, helps to ascertain that authorized expenditure during each financial year, and other things, my straight dog family. It speaks to the chairman, as I said, who shall be the leader of the opposition, unless he or she refuses. And I spent an inordinate amount of time on this Public Accounts Committee matter. I spent an extra amount of time because Mark Brantley in particular continues to spend the public money over there in Nevis like a drunken sailor, or as we say colloquially, like a drunken sailor. And he paints a picture as though he is not mandated to account for his stewardship as Minister of Finance in Nevis. The Federal Minister of Finance in St. Kitts, Dr. Drew, is asking or acting the same way. And now they have created a political love affair. And they both like the same things and seem to act the same way. So tonight, my Straight Dog family, I must commend the NRP leader, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. Without reservations, I commend Janice Daniel Hodge, my Straight Dog family, for her recent display of courage to stand up to this political bully called Mark Brantley and to tell him like it is, to tell him what time of day it is, as we say colloquially. Because Mark Brantley bullies every woman who opposes him. Remember what he said about his opponent, Dr. Patricia Bartlett? This is what he said about beautiful Patricia.
The kinds of pronouncements that Dr. Bartlett comes up with. I mean, I know she's a vet, and so she has spent a lot of years not having to communicate with humans. So I don't know if that has affected her ability now that she's seeking to communicate with human beings, right? Because, you know, dogs and cats, I suppose, they communicate with her in a different way. I don't know. But those skill sets you can't necessarily take now and apply to humans. You're now talking to humans. And humans have a brain and they're going to ask questions. Like, well, why you say that? And what you mean by that? And how come you just discover certain things?
My Straight Dog family, just last week, Mark Brantley, as the Premier of Nevis, spoke about another Nevisian woman in an abusively disparaging manner. He said this, my Straight Dog family.
I went to an event today and I looked around and I saw a particular lady. And the lady used to be a good-looking lady. And I say used to be because she faced so vexed that the good look she used to have looked like they've disappeared. And I said to my colleague who was there with me, I said, Lord, watch this woman's face. Face twists up like you need an iron to iron out she face, how she face twists up. But face, when I tell you twist up, you need one of them old goose. Because that they can't iron out with regular iron. You need a goose to press out she face.
You know, my Straight Dog family, many of us would not remember, or many of us may not have heard. About 12 years ago, the most senior parliamentarian of nigh 35 years, Dr. Denzel Llewellyn Douglas, the Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Llewellyn Douglas, my friend, spoke about his arrogance and his wealth. And this is what the member from St. Christopher 6 had to say about Mark Brantley.
Only you have sense. Nobody else in this parliament has sense. It bothers me because there is no need for that kind of arrogance. He's the most intelligent person in the world. He's the most sensible person in the world. He is the richest parliamentarian in the world. It's a glimpse of the nature of the member for Nevis. Arrogant, pompous, talking down to people. And that's not a good attitude for a politician. You need to change your attitude. You need to stop talking ill of people.
That was 12 years ago. Being chastised by Dr. Douglas. But 12 years thereafter, Mark Brantley has not changed. And it seems as though he has even gotten worse, according to his own colleague, who exposed him for what he is. When she said this, my Straight Dog family.
My second term of office began in January of 2018 under a new premiership. In my second term of office, I witnessed the steady hand of late Premier Amory and his respect for others being replaced by brash disregard for people. His modus operandi of teamwork being replaced by self-aggrandizement. While Premier Amory's emphasis was on the empowerment and elevation of others, this has been replaced with the belittling, demeaning, and threats of being made irrelevant meted out to anyone who dares to disagree with those at the top. With my basic tenets being integrity, transparency, and accountability, I found it difficult in accepting, condoning, or conforming to this adverse manner of leadership. As a result, I found myself ostracized, not for lack of qualification, certainly not for lack of performance, definitely not for misappropriation of funds, and absolutely not for pilfering of government's resources.
My Straight Dog family, Hazel Brandy Williams has moved on and left Mark behind. But words like self-aggrandizement, misappropriation of funds, and pilferage are some harsh words. But for the reasons above, I can only admire the natural tendency, yes, the propensity of the NRP leader to speak the truth about Mark Brantley and in the process provide corroborative evidence. That is Daniel Hodge, whom I never met personally, and I look forward to meeting her one day. I'm sure I will. But she outlined 5 chapters in what I took the liberty to name the Book of Mark, chapters 1 to 5. And there's a 6th chapter as well. Many millions more missing. And I thought that it would be a good opportunity to preview the chapters cited by Janice Daniel Hodge. The first, my Straight Dog family, the first of the 5 chapters, or the first five chapters, I should say, chronicle the failures that should occupy the attention of Mark Brantley. In the first chapter, Daniel Hodge opined that the fiscal status of Nevis has been mutilated. My Straight Dog family. Harsh words, Andy. Is what she said.
In the very first chapter, I note that since 2015, the fiscal status of Nevis has been mutilated. Our debt is now approaching a staggering $600 million, and this staggering debt continues to increase, notwithstanding that the government has collected approximately $700 million in tax revenues and nearly $500 million in CBI funds. The CBI funds, a treasure trove of funds to spend. Yet the treasury is bare and empty, and our narcissistic premier has managed to run this once proud, prosperous Nevis into near bankruptcy.
My Straight Dog family, it cannot be disputed that because of his incompetence, Mark Brantley has inflicted serious damage to the economy of Nevis and by extension on all the people of Nevis. In her second chapter, Janice Daniel Hodge speaks to the administrative handicap of Mark Brantley. This is what she said, my Straight Talk family, in terms of foreign direct investment.
In the next chapter, we see that Premier Brantley was the Minister of Foreign Affairs for 7 years, yet has failed to attract any foreign investments. There are minimal local investments and little trade. The Premier bragged that there were investors waiting out to sea until he took office. Well, they have all come to shore, but resorted to fleeing as far away as possible from this Premier. He has made announcements of hotels, including the Canley Resort, the Ammon Resort, the Windham Resort, yet none has been realized. He has promised to turn on the geothermal switch in 2017, but now, some 6 years later, with no investors, the federal government has had to step in. Sadly, our Premier has been reduced to an administrative handicap.
An administrative handicap, she referred to him as. That's harsh. She went on and cited chapter 3 with an intention to highlight the terrible state of healthcare in Nevis, my Straight Talk family. This is what Daniel Hodge said.
The next chapter brings no comfort, my people, as it reveals sustained failure. And although it pains me to discuss it, I must mention that the current state of healthcare is alarming. Still, the Premier considers it the best that it has ever been. The many who have died prematurely, leaving loved ones to mourn, the lack of basic medical necessities that haunt the community centers and the hospital, insufficient healthcare professionals, and those brave enough to weather the stressful environment are left to turn stone into bread. In response, we cannot turn a blind eye.
But my Straight Talk family, so people are dying at the hospital in Nevis. And people are dying at the JN France General Hospital right here in St. Kitts. And this was confirmed by a doctor, Dr. Melissa Cable-Wilson. Recall, she posted, and I quote, in a final paragraph of a post, patients are dying in droves at the JNF. I am sick, she went on, of referring patients, and they are denied access because doctors are lazy or have big egos, so they can't be spoken to. The patient always pays the price. My Straight Talk family. And we cannot forget the Facebook posts of this doctor. But sadly, my Straight Talk family, Dr. Drew and Mark Brantley seem to have quite a lot of things in common. They're like two peas in a pod, as we say. But Janice Daniel Hodge promised that there are more chapters to come. More chapters to come, she said, my Straight Talk family.
The federal government has taken the position that when funds are handed over to the NIA, thereafter they play no further part. While such approach may find general support, the issue of misuse of public funds must not be granted such safe passage. The Prime Minister has begun his investigations into some of the institutions of the state, but his efforts should not rest there. I believe that funds received by the CCM administration to undertake specific projects like the Mondo Track, the hospital, and the water taxi facility
must also be investigated and audited. I therefore call upon the Prime Minister to act in this regard. The Social Security contributions, the CBI deal with Minister Spencer Brand, these are no small issues. These are real issues that affect the lives and livelihoods of thousands of our citizens. My people, there are more chapters, but for now, I will end here.
More chapters will come. But I omitted one chapter, which is this, my Straight Talk family. Forgive
my
me.
People, I turn the page to the next chapter about the Holy Water Taxi Facility. The Premier and his team laid out a majestic development plan for the area, inclusive of the pier, reception building, gift shops, and parking area, all at a cost of $6 million. The project was scheduled to be completed in 2018, but now, some 5 years later, this too has suffered a similar fate as the Alexandria Hospital. It remains incomplete, with a pier and some abandoned Sunday school benches pitched under a tent, presumably provided for comfort. Shabby at best, yet the $6 million has vanished, with a need for additional funding to complete the project.
Sunday school benches. Did I, in fact, cite this chapter as well?
As regrettable as it is, I must turn to the next chapter and discuss the Social Security contributions that the NIA has collected but has not paid into the Social Security Board. This behavior is egregious. I have seen a letter from the senior manager addressed to the Nevis Island administration complaining of a whopping $9.1 million of contributions of the hard-working men and women of this country that have not been accounted for. I then looked at the date of the letter, only to be further stunned, since the letter was dated May 2022. It is not clear what the Nevis Island administration has done or is doing to remedy the dilemma, but the outstanding amount continues to increase. When many of our citizens attain retirement age, they may very well be heartbroken when reality hits and they come to realize that they have no pension. Our teachers, doctors, nurses, fire personnel, cleaners, you name it, they deserve better.
But would you believe, my Straight Dog family, that the Nevis Island administration under Mark Brantley sought to consolidate their loans, according to him, and actually wrote this letter to the Social Security Board. And it read in full. I just giving you an excerpt, as your dog family. I write on behalf of the Nevis Island administration. This is in 2022. Seeking a loan of $35 million to finance a number of projects on Nevis during this fiscal year. These projects are critical to our economic development as we seek to stimulate economic activity on Nevis after the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on our local economy over the past 2 years. And it speaks, and you can see the breakdown in the interest of time, my Straight Dog family. Signed by the Permanent Secretary of Finance in Nevis. Rehabilitation of the Island Main Road, $10.5 million needed. Construction of a new Ministry of Agriculture building, $2 million. An additional $2.5 million. Although there is no cost overrun, they're still asking for $2.5 million for the Alexandria Hospital Rehabilitation Project. Acquisition of lands for housing development, $10 million. Purchase, acquisition of lands for commercial development, $5 million. UTC debt consolidation, $5 million, for a total of $35 million. Are trying to procure that from the Social Security Board, which I am advised that thankfully it was denied. So my Straight Talk family, Janet Daniel Hodge said more chapters will come. But there is no sign or hope for that matter that the government's internal auditors will make any finding or any headway in finding the missing money, as clearly many millions of dollars have disappeared. Dr. Drew, for example, said $120 million were owed to the Social Security by the Development Bank. So did he overlook or deliberately avoid mentioning the millions, hundreds of millions owed to the Social Security Board by the Mark Brantley CCM Nevis Island administration? With all these incomplete projects in Nevis, we know that the money is gone, but we don't know what Mark Brantley and his CCM NIA spent it on. So while we await with a bated breath the remaining chapters, and even before its release, Straight Talk commends Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge for exhibiting the real strength of a woman to stand up to that bully called Mark Brantley. And for what we have heard thus far, Straight Talk endorses the book of Mark, chapters 1 to 5. Many millions more disappear. That's my story tonight, my Straight Talk family, and I'm not going to change it. Instead, I'm going to open the lines and entertain your calls and or your emails. And of course, I must forewarn you, or implore you, I should say, I prefer that word, implore you, I beg you, to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. And in the process, let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in doing and or saying those things, let us, my Straight Talk family, strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. It's now 15 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. I go straight to the lines, my Straight Talk family, and say good night to our first caller. Caller, you live.
Good night, Mr. Patrick.
Good night, Bible man. You are opening the baton tonight.
How are you, sir?
I am peaceful. Yourself? How about you?
Well, I am peaceful here.
Good to hear
and
you.
I'm thanking God because He has paid us sanctities another time. Mr. Patrick, the 5 category hurricane, what was coming to St. Kitts? God remove it. You know why? Because people were praying. And Mr. Patel, if that will catch us, we not have bomb to sit around today, but we have to give God thanks and praise. And then the psalm, God remove it. Mr. Patel, it is good to give God thanks and praise and pray. But I am not going to take too long because people must know and people must change their ways. And because of the remnant insanity that God fears us. Mr. Patrick, have a pleasant night. I ain't going no further than there.
Thank you very much, the Bible man, and for your intervention. It's rather uncharacteristic of you, though, that you didn't leave us with a Bible verse, but we understand that it's good to always give God thanks. And yes, you're correct. I believe that it was through the will of God that we were spared here in St. Kitts from that storm. And we all give thanks for that. Yes, we got some winds and rough seas, trees fell down or were knocked down, so to lampposts and so on. But yes, we all give thanks. Yes, you're correct, the Bible man. My Shaitak family, it's 18 past the 9 o'clock hour. If you have just joined me, we are looking at the thesis tonight, the book of Mark, 1 to 5, millions, many millions more missing, as we go right back to the lines and say good night to this caller. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Liebert.
Good evening, my dear.
I never know that the time will come where I walk away from the CCM party. When they throw Mr. Amri, when they chase Mr. Amri out of the office, he took with him good governance and left us, Nevis people, with some vagabonds and some liars. Have a great evening.
Thank you, my dear, for your input. Short, clear, and concise. And that's something need to be discussed some more in terms of the CCM and its leadership under Mark Brantley. But again, if you have just joined us, we are examining, as I said before, our thesis tonight that I've titled The Book of Mark. The Book of Mark, chapters 1 to 5. Many millions more missing. And we need to ensure that someone or someone's account for those millions. Why Daniel Hodge will write a book? Things need to be done. Things need to be done. And people must give account. You know that Dr. Joe has said absolutely nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. Dr. Joe came to the nation today in his round table. He spoke to the United Nations and he said absolutely nothing about the misbehavior of our top diplomat who brought the country into disrepute in the hallowed halls of the United Nations in the presence of so many people. He said nothing, and the palace guards had no courage to ask a question of such an important issue like that. A question was asked, and he never answers questions. And he obviously plants these questions into the minds of these individuals who should be representatives of the fourth estate to ensure that there's freedom of information to ensure that nothing is suppressed. Dr. Drew suppresses everything around him and around this country to keep us in the dark. And that is not acceptable. Not acceptable at all, my Sure Dog family. The lines are open if you'll just join me. It's I know many called tonight and started pondering as to whether there was going to be straight talk tonight. And yes, we had a tardy start. But I'm here, and again, I apologize for the tardy start, but we'll give you back the time if you so desire it. The lines are the numbers, rather, are 646-829-6672. That's our overseas number. And our local number is 869-663-6672. Of course, you don't need the area code if you're calling locally. There are those who like what I call the cloak of anonymity. So I give you access via our email account, and the address, beg your pardon, is Straight Talk Patches. That's one word, STRAIGATTALKPATCHES @gmail.com. And this message reads, if no money was paid into the Social Security Fund by the Nevis end, what happened to those people when the time comes to collect their contributions? Very interesting question, my Straight Dog family, but let's go to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Yes. Good night, Dr. Ian Patches.
How are you, my dear brother, Culture?
Oh, man, I'm great, man. I'm great.
Back from the volcano.
Yes. Well, I got something good for everybody who are feeling the heat. Thank God for the little shows we had yesterday and the day before. But it seems like it's going to turn up hotter today.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, don't worry, people, don't worry. I saw some snow seeds all over the world. So, by the end of October, everything will be back to normal. Good weather. So, just tolerate it and be it for now. Now, what you said, the book, the name Patches, for the snake in Nevis?
The Book of Mark.
The book.
Not the Gospel, the Book of Mark.
Oh, okay, right.
I know you're a Bible man, so don't get confused.
No, I want to say this here, brother. You see how long and far back Dr. Douglas realized what the snake in Nevis is? Talk down to people and try to humiliate people. That's why you see, I like Dr. Douglas, you know. He don't hold back. And he's not afraid to say what he got to say. And who don't like it, that's their business, but he ain't gonna hold nothing in the belly. Now you mean to tell me 12 years ago, Mark Brantley was so low down dirty for a man trying to humiliate a woman. And now 12 years ago, come back to now, 12 again. He don't say he went to, what it was. He went to some place there, and I can't even know what show it was. And he saw a lady in there. And he know that was a beautiful looking lady. But when he look at her face so tingle with vex up, that it need iron out. If God make she, and God make he, and he has no right to discriminate against nobody, especially a woman who bring us in the world here. His mother didn't have to bring him. She could have put him somewhere else. And if he know the quality of a woman on this earth here who God make, you hear me? he would check back always say about the lady. The lady face so twist up. It need ironing out, not with a heater, with a goose. For a leader of a country gonna say that? But he don't have no respect for nobody at all in Nevis. I am saying this to you, man, because I was one of your great supporters every Wednesday on your program. And you know that he used to look for two persons. He used to look for me and Mr. Politics. And when I realized what is in Mark, he let it out. When PLP had the convention over Atlas, I realized he is what you call a hypocrite, a deceiver, and a misleader. Because if he was part of Team Unity and one of his members having their convention, why didn't he come down and give support? Instead of that, man who he cursed in the Labour Party with Dr. Douglas. He called Dr. Douglas all kind of names. He was seen up Nevis at the same time when PLP had their convention, sitting down on a bench with Dr. Douglas close to him. So you see the hypocrisy in him, and then he praised Dr. Harris and said, Dr. Harris is the best leader you ever had. Thank God for Team Unity and Dr. Harris. Nevis never been treated so good. And then he still turned around and arguing and cussing and saying things about Dr. Harris. Talking about fear shield. And at one time he gave Dr. Harris time and he phoned to reply to something. When Michael Powell had to tell him something and tell him no, he plays. And now look at him today. Look at him. He's supposed to be the leader of the opposition in the Federal House. But look where he is. Right up behind Dr. Joe. Right up if Dr. Joe only swing around here but knock out Mark. And he's supposed to be over on the opposition bench. Right up in Labour. All because Dr. Joe, he's looking money from you to repay Nevis debt. So if you don't know, I am telling you, that's why he's so close to you. Because just what he said about Dr. Douglas and anybody else, when he get what he want, he can tell you that. That is, it is time for the opposition in St. Kitts to stand up now and oppose a lot of wrong things that is being done by this Labour government. A lot of wrong things is bothering everybody in Parliament, in Cabinet, but some of them in Cabinet keeping them out shut. And some of them in Parliament ain't saying nothing neither, but they bothering them. And when they get in the dark to little alley, they're telling a friend, but the friend will leak it out. Mark Brantley, you are not an opposition leader. You are a political opportunist. That's what you are. And you deceive a lot of people. And I'm calling on the other two members of the opposition. It is time for you all to get up, step off the office, and walk on the street and let everybody go and demonstrate against what wrong thing going on in the country. Because the longer you all sit down, is more time that Labour government got to do stupidness. Patches, thank you so long, Patches. Have a good night. I'm going to soon hush you because they're getting me Rex.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Patches. Good night, straight talk.
Thanks a lot, my brother, and I want to apologize profusely for my oversight tonight in not recognizing our teachers. In fact, today is World Teachers' Day, which is celebrated annually or held annually on the 5th of October, which is today. Today is the 5th, am I correct? Yes, the 5th of October. And I do apologize to our teachers as you commemorate another anniversary. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello.
Ian Patches live, but greetings to you, brother. How are you?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
I'm very good. Listening to your program with your unusual topics.
That's
very testing.
Thank you,
you put the crystal ball into thoughts, you know. That's very good of you.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Humanity by nature is gifted to think freely.
That's right.
But in all of that, this free thought should lead him to the goal of liberty and independence. His way of thinking must be shaped by the process of education. And that's all he does. You bring topics to flow education, to flow reasoning. Your topic tonight, Mr. Patch, is very tasty. The book of Mark. And you see why your topic is so tasty. And the person in pieces is because the image of the person in the Federation. And the lady, Janet Hodge, the way how she put him into observation to the public is very mind-boggling. And he, too, should take attention of what's going on. Because it is so that the administration, the Nevis Island administration, Social Security, outstanding amount. That's a criminal offense. And this is something that no citizen should turn a blind eye to. Because that is a government.
Mm-hmm.
And the government is supposed to see about the people. Supposed to safeguard the people assets. We shouldn't be leaning on the people to take away what they have. That's why I don't see where, when I hear people talking about government, they give handouts. Government is there to help, to afford opportunities. You read in the Bible where alms was given to the poor, and alms is gifts. So a government is always there to provide opportunities. Sometimes we use certain phrases just to mislead people about handout and all that kind of stupidness, because every government gives. So there's no handout. You provide opportunities for your people to help themselves. But with the leader in Nevis, it's a very serious thing that everyone should pay attention to. It's not nice for the Federation like that. Because I remember we had a problem too with the Attorney General. So we cannot think that the image of people when they do crime are things that perceived to be criminal offense to the country. We should turn a blind eye, otherwise we wouldn't really be having a moral democracy.
Mm-hmm.
A true leader is one who realizes by faith that he is an instrument in the hands of God. So we always have to show example to what we do. And I heard you with this some time back on your program concerning this security, social security contributions. And I listened attentively. When I overheard what you're talking about tonight is Janet Hodge and her comments. To see that a lady confronting the premier, it's very mind-boggling. Mr. Patrick, you continue to be strong and stay healthy. God bless.
God bless you as well, my dear brother. Always look forward to your interventions all the time, and you are so correct. You are so correct. The message here reads: Mark, the secessionist leader and premier, is a liar, a crook, and a very dangerous man. He believes he is the smartest of all politicians in the Federation. Take a look at what he did during the independence celebrations in Nevis. to give Dr. Drew the impression that he is now a federalist and conveniently no more a secessionist. Anyone who is observant, would realize that on landing on the Nevis pier, would easily discern that the Nevis secession flag has been taken down and replaced by a barrage of Federation flags flying on the Iron Shed in Charlestown, right along the Hankins Drive into Low Street. This is a trick he's playing on Drew with the sweetheart recitation. Drew is the best prime minister Nevis has ever seen. What a barefaced fake this man is, reads this email. This other email reads, I listened to the 3 groundless jokers last week doing a post-mortem on an article they say was written by one Wally, in which he narrated certain things about the Ramada Hotel, which evoked a response from the hotel management. So here are the groundless jokers as they peruse the article line by line. Okay, this can be a case for the court. And I see here, Junie, you can talk to your lawyers about freedom's involvement here. Oh yes, my lawyer, definitely. Now they're wild to see legal action taken against Wally. But when Freedom was being sued by the former minister, the manager was up and down like a crazy man, ringing a bell and screaming, let freedom reign, let freedom reign. Freedom of speech and democracy must stand. Also, when the good Dr. Wilkinson was slandered by Freedom, he opted from adjoining the station with the principal offender. But now the manager, along with the full of himself doctor and the Mumu fellow, want Wally to have his day in court over some little stupidness. Wally boy, they want to scare you, but let them know your pen is mightier than your sword. Read this other email. This spends up the emails. Those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. Read this other email. Mark uses his program and radio station every week to curse and abuse citizens who do not subscribe to his own views. He refers to Patricia Bartlett as a woman who can only relate to animals and not humans. Recently he said he saw a woman in Nevis and she faced so ugly and twisted up that only an ancient goose could iron out her face and straighten it. He has the worst thing to say about Janice Daniel Hodge, the lawful daughter of the man Sim Daniel who made Mark somebody, and that is undeniable. Now, in all of this, no one is calling on Mark to apologize and demonstrate some modicum of respect for women, especially, but he is on the airwaves bawling like a baby, soliciting sympathizers according to NRP threatening him. Well, boy, what you sow you reap. Continue pelting stones in people's glasses, or glass houses, beg your pardon, and believe yours will not be exempted. You lie. Read this email. Let's go to the lines, my Straight Talk family, at 19 before 10 o'clock. Call you live.
Good night, Brother Patches, Educator Patches.
Good night, my dear brother.
The smartest educationer and the smartest straight talker.
Wow, you're putting me on a high pedestal there, my brother.
Well, hey, I give Jackie.
Oh, I'm humbled, my friend. I'm humbled.
And remember, a plain talker have no friend. Oh, the cap fit wear it. I'm not favoring anyone, but I'm going to elaborate over it later. if all these accusations that being brought up against the Premier of Nevis, let me advise the people of Nevis and actually the whole Federation. There are actions that one can take in their hands, but it takes more than one person. It got to be all. If your Social Security money is in such a weak ability, why don't all of you who is aware of this problem get together and file a class action lawsuit to protect and get your money back, if that is the claim and it's true? And the truth remains to be known. But people in Nevis, you don't have to be a scholar or been to Harvard, Yale, or Oxford, where people go and study to be their lawyer or wheresoever. All of you can get together, even one, and file a class action lawsuit for your right, for your money, for your freedom, for your security, for your nest for your eggs that you put in your nest. There is a legal process to process everything, because you are gonna just steady and bang your mouth and just listen what someone said. Seek the information that necessary to serve your needs. And if it is so, and it is deemed improper, take the matter to the court. Take the matter to the court. Don't be afraid. You have a right to defend your sovereignty, and your sovereignty has been violated, as I will quote again, if these allegations are true. You see, when you come around me, I fight for my right. And I will die that way if I have to die.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Which accusations you're referring to, if that's truth?
I'm not saying nothing is. I'm not saying. I'm just listening. I don't have. I trust your method, your finding. I trust upon that.
But we posted.
So
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm really sorry. But I'm trying to have dialogue. But we posted a letter written by the senior manager of the Social Security Board in Nevis about monies owing for Social Security. It was a signature affixed to the letter.
And I will deem it to be proper. I'm not deeming it.
You said allegations. Those are facts, not allegations.
Okay.
The NIA owes the Nevis Island Administration. So it owes the Social Security Board. They have deducted the money from their workers. Have not submitted or paid that money in that contribution into the Social Security Fund. Neither have they matched their contributions. And those are facts. And Mark Brantley cannot deny those facts. As a matter of fact, they have not paid since 2022. But I'm sorry to interrupt you. I needed to bring that information so that listeners who may have just joined us, never heard this story, would say they're allegations, but they're not allegations, they are facts.
I yield to that. Let me change my language. Facts. I remember I always say I stand for correction, eh? So you corrected me, I will yield to that. But moving back to what I'm saying, the factual information that's provided to the general public, which are public records. You see, the problem is English people, they only talk. They don't look to find the facts and read the facts. They bang their mouth, and that's most to it. And just like culture said, why don't you all rise up and stand up for your right and stop banging your all mouth? Create action, create a revolution, okay, for your own grounds. And do the next to come to a resolution. Anyway, I guess everybody understands me on that. I'm just telling y'all can be legal in your way to find facts and prosecute. The public can prosecute for their right. Who is wrong? The other thing I'm going to jump to, Patches, I am so sorry. I know the cost of living in St. Kitts and Nevis is so high. And when you said that you went, apart from the lady can buy mackerel, which are poor man food, and you went to the supermarket and you really verify that mackerel is $20-something a pack or a pound. That is up here in America. A pack of mackerel is like $3-4, you know. A can of sardine is $1. A can of sardine is $1, so you could buy quantity. But no food in St. Kitts. Oh my God. That's why when I come to St. Kitts, I always come well food sustainable. Because I know what I see. So when I hear those people talk about that situation, I believe. And that is way below poverty and the cost of living. Those kind of cost of living need to be driven down to serve the country or raise people's salary and control all these commerce that all these business people are putting such a hardship on people, man. Come on, people. Y'all need to revolute against these things. And all these things is what creating crime. Because when people can't eat, don't mess with people's belly. Don't mess with my belly. A hungry man is a hungry man. And that hunger going to stem to criminal activity. And everything are all connected. But if you don't find a way to connect the dots properly, there ain't going to be no solution. That's why I will always say, thank God for America. Because I could run back to America when distress come on me. And that's what I did. Because a situation happened to me in St. Kitts. And I can't believe I would have been one in the line to go to Rams on the Shelf, whatever supermarket. But thank God for America. Everybody, thank God for America. It's not so bad. Thank you for that. I will try come again with another thing.
Thank you very much for your intervention. And just for information for those who are listening to the program, yes, we understand the position of allegations or accusations, and we are not accusatory here on Straight Talk, and I never practice that particular way to communicate. But the fact is that the Munda track, which was referred to, which was constructed about 5 or 6 years ago, the Munda track, as we speak now, do not have shelter. I remember driving there one day and going down to the Long Point area. I think that's the area in which it is. And I saw something, then I recognized it was this nice track, and I realized it was a Munda track. But there was not one stand, not one bit of cover, not even a galvanized shed, so people can shelter if rain comes down. I don't know if it has changed. If it has changed, forgive me, my folks in Nevis, but please let me know. But again, we heard of the Overly center there that accommodate these what we call them, these boats that ply between the Reggae Beach or Cockleshell Bay and Overly. And as according to Janice Daniel Hodge, there are some Sunday school benches under a tent. And then it comes to the hospital wing that's been added. It's either 4 or 5 years it's been added. And the last thing that Brantley said about this, I hope I have the right soundbite, but this is what he said.
The hospital has been delayed, as we know. The hospital expansion, as we're calling it, is actually 2.5 times the size of the existing hospital. It is a mammoth project. I also want to make the point that we had budgeted $20 million for that project. We, based on the last tally that we had spent just about 17, give or take, $million. Are we anticipating that there may be a cost overrun? possible. The latest difficulty and why no work has happened there for the year, and we're now in September, is because the contractors, having completed the exterior of the building, and the contractors said to us, Evelyn's Construction, a well-known contractor on the island, they said to us, listen, they would like to have some quantity takeoffs for the interior. We agreed, we stopped the work, and we went and we found a professional on St. Kitts who offered that service. We paid for the service. Let's just say we have not got the work. I think that matter may now be in the court because that professional kept saying next week, next month, next month. It has never happened.
And that's his report on the hospital. And Janice Hodge mentioned that in her speech to the nation or country of Nevis or island of Nevis, whichever you prefer. Patches, the Prime Minister held his so-called round table press conference today. As usual, it was nothing of substance, a big waste of time. The reporters and journalists are a waste of time also. No one seems to want to ask serious, tough questions because they want to be friends with the government. I was waiting to hear if any one of them would ask about the disgraced behavior of the two ambassadors or the social security contributions that Mark Brantley and his CCM is not paying into social security. The same reporter who was at Mark Brantley's conference was present at this one and didn't ask anything about it. All of them are a bunch of cowards and wimps, reads this email. This other email reads, good evening, Mr. Straight Talk. Greetings. Thanks again for keeping us informed about the developments in the Federation. You were ridiculed by the Premier of Nevis when Mr. Bart asked him to confirm the alleged missing funds from Social Security in Nevis. Instead of confirming or denying the statement, he sought to insult you, and Mr. Bart, the most experienced journalist that he is, did not rebuff and read the letter. They're just a set of interviewers, no spine. Thank you again for speaking the truth and bringing the facts. One love, reads this other email. This email reads, good night, Patches. Can something that is working properly and functioning adequately need resetting? The current government kept boasting that they are working and doing good. Now they're resetting something that is functioning. Reads that email. Yes, the lines are open. I can take your calls now. I was trying to dispense of all the emails so I can ensure that that population or that section or that of Straight Talk is also treated freely. There are some people who, as I said, like the cloak of anonymity because, in St. Kitts and Nevis, well, St. Kitts for sure, if you speak the truth, you get the wrath of the Jew administration. And that is so sad, my Straight Talk family. But for those who have just joined me, tonight we have so far looked at our thesis, which is titled The Book of Mark, chapters 1 to 5. Many millions more missing. In the introduction to that book of Mark, we spoke at length to the establishment of the Public Accounts Committee. And it was raised deliberately because that said committee is one that my Straight Talk family is very important. It is very important because the Public Accounts Committee, as it was called, is established or rather I should say the standing orders of the National Assembly are in effect the rules of procedure governing the work of the Assembly. And one such committee is the Public Accounts Committee, or the PAC, which is established by Standing Order 70, which states that there shall be a standing committee to be known as the Public Accounts Committee. And very interesting as well, there's a Public Accounts Committee Act or bill that was passed in 2017 in the Parliament or the National Assembly to provide better oversight on public expenditure by Straight Talk family. And that piece of legislation under section 4, subsection 1, it states that there shall be a chairman of the committee pursuant to the provisions of section 70, which I just alluded to, subsection 3 of the standing orders. And if the leader of the opposition is a member of the committee, he or she shall be offered the option to chair the committee before all other members. But in fact, the leader of the opposition ought to have the quorum, ought to have the understanding of the importance of that particular role as chair of the PAC and ensure that the committee is established. But not Mark Brantley, because on 2 occasions he served as the chairman and did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing, my Straight Dog family. And right now in Nevis, there's no leader of the opposition in Nevis, so there's no PAC in that committee. But let's go to the lines, my Straight Dog family. Caller, you live.
Yes, I am back, Patrice. Now, Patrice, I want to say something here. All who used to listen to the snake of Nevis, the opportunist of Nevis, everything out him out every week. He used to talk about fair share. The passport ain't marked St. Kitts. It marked St. Christopher and Nevis passport. And that is why he not going to stop agitate until Nevis get the fair share. Well, that was his right to represent the people of Nevis. But I agree with Mr. Welcome. People of Nevis, listen to me. The fair share, what he's supposed to get, that is why he hugging up behind Dr. Joe. Hold me round me waist, Master Tracy. Hold me. They ain't playing a game, but they hold Dr. Joe round the waist because he want the fair share from Dr. Joe to take care of them, lower the debt. What? The Nevis Island Administration or the Social Security in Nevis. So Mr. Welcome is right. Do not let anybody violate your rights. Everybody on this earth has the right to have rights. And anybody violate your rights, there are a place to take them to get justice. The longer you all trick back and let him feel like what he did to the Social Security money for Nevis people them, the longer you all step back and let him feel like what he did is right and okay. Ah, boy, you are just giving him energy and length to get to stay in there and then come back with some dirty tricks again and say he win the election in Nevis. Nevis people, I know you all are sensible people. Wake up and defend your rights, because he like to say he gonna take people to court, and when he use the word, he gonna take them under the clock. Well, only he want to know where the courthouse is. All you stand for your right is all your money. It's all your money. Because if a neighbor or somebody come in your house or your shop, where you got, and take up all your money, and you could get to bust the head with a 2-pound wheel, are you going to do it? Or if you know who to be, and are you afraid to hit them, are you going to call police? Because that is your right to protect what you have in your possession. Stand up. People, are you see how them people all over the world, up in Europe and all in places, are you wink? They demonstrate on the street, and they throw the house, and who ain't doing right? Oh, you come better than that, man. Come better than that, people, man. Be more sensible than that, and better than that. Okay, Patches? You watch your back. Thank God for you and your program. Without you, I don't know what would have happened here. Because right now, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, we are down in the waters. We're heading down as deep as the Titanic is, economically and leadershiply, if there is such a word. Leadership and transparent and integrity. Up to now, nobody know how many passports Dr. Joe signed his signature to since India. Up to now, is that transparency and integrity? Good night, Patches.
Good night, my
Watch
dear.
your back. I'll see you next week.
You'll see you next week as well, my dear brother.
Okay.
Have yourself a wonderful weekend. Good night, Patches. Reads this email. Mark is a political prostitute. Right now, he is riding on the back of Jew and the people of Nevis. He's already rode on the back of poor Pam and Sean. Now he has no use for the many Pam persons being victimized and run home by this Labour government. Well, Drew is trying to hold on to Mark for political strength. But let him know just now the political prostitute will ride on his back straight out of government. Mark only likes money, reads this email. Mr. Straight Talk, thank you very much for keeping our citizens of our beloved Federation informed. 1. To Premier Mark Brantley, I have learned the credentials on the wall do not make you a decent human being. It just shows how much education you got. 2. Why our Prime Minister, women groups, and the women in government are so afraid of and are quiet about the Premier's disrespectful behavior toward women. Good night and continued blessings, reads this email. And my Straight Talk family, as we wind down tonight's programming, yes, I keep the lines open, perhaps take a few more calls, but you may have joined me belatedly, and I welcome you, all of you. If it's your first time and you just bumped into the program, we are grateful to have you. And just to inform you that Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 in the p.m. to 10 p.m. And tonight we looked at our thesis, which we entitled The Book of Mark, chapters 1 to 6. More millions missing. My Straight Talk family. And we, as I told you before, and I know that when many of you perhaps read the tagline, you thought we were talking about Mark's Gospel or the Gospel of Mark. And I love the Gospel of Mark. It is quite succinct and it's clearly expressed, it's plain and yet vivid of Jesus' ministry, emphasizing more what Jesus did rather than what he said. But this book of Mark is about Mark Brantley. And I'll take a few more calls. Perhaps that goes to the lines and see if we get this caller. On caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Thank you. Yes, thank you again, Patrick. I am loaded with a lot of, should I say, fury that I should vent, but I will do it in a diligent way. Okay? Coming back to Nevis, I will say shout out to the NRP, specifying Mr. Carlisle Powell. You know who I am. We grew up together. We live in the same village together. And Carlisle, I known you to be a man of business growing up. And you know what's going on with Mark Brantley. As the chairman of the NRP, which you are, and as citizen also, and with the leader of the NRP, Janet. I don't know her, but I've heard about her. Both of your strengths should go together because Carlisle is an aggressive man who can make a case like any scholar. As I said earlier, any citizen, if you all have the facts and listen to the facts surrounding this matter with Mark Brantley, I am not going to use a name that does not pertain. I'm going to call you by your name, sir. Why don't you all file the class action lawsuit with everybody on board, all the supporters of NRP, and go against this Grinch work that has been done by the Premier? And the thing is, I don't believe a politician should be friends with his people, you know. A politician is there to do the people's work. So there is no favor. Do the work that you are supposed to do and let it be deemed and proper. But you all are still encouraging, sponsoring corruption in the country. I was there in Parliament to see how Parliament session go with the upgrade of corruption, the corruption law, to make things tougher against leaders and anyone. But it feels like the corruption law only to take down the poor man. Because all these big heads and heights are getting away with their bullshit, and I like that word. No offense to me. It's a straight talk word to me.
No, that's not a straight talk word. I would disassociate myself from that. Although,
okay. All right.
You know, I mean,
I will do anything to safeguard your show.
Yeah, please.
So I will recall that word. But
thank you.
I guess everybody get the message because other people use other words. But one thing I can tell you, this is not this is a conjunction for me.
Okay.
So whosoever understands
let's keep it at bull. Let's keep it at bull.
Well, I explain myself. It is a conjunction that joined my sentence.
Okay, make a point because we're running out of time, man.
Yes. Anyway, Mr. Carlisle Powell and Janet, you all know what's going on in Nevis. Go and file a class action lawsuit.
Okay.
For the right of the people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, my Straight Talk family. And let's take this, perhaps make it our final email for tonight. All these so-called journalists in St. Kitts ought to be ashamed of themselves to be called journalists. But you're a joker. I really thought you were a professional journalist, but you lack temerity, fortitude, courage, and audacity. Unless you're looking and begging a favor from Jew and Mark, or they might be paying you to watch their backs. Shame on you, man, all of you journalists. I omitted that word, my Straight Talk family, deliberately. But there is my Straight Talk family, and as I said earlier, happy belated happy belated Teachers Day. And I got a communication from the St. Kitts Teachers Union, and it reads: the St. Kitts Teachers Union expresses deep concern over disrespect and neglect of educators' well-being. The St. Kitts Teachers Union is deeply dismayed by the lack of response and the subsequent neglect experienced by our dedicated educators after requesting a single day off to commemorate World Teachers Day 2023. This incident raises grave concerns regarding the respect and well-being of our teachers, who work tirelessly to provide quality education to our students day in and day out. Teachers play a pivotal role in shaping the future of our society by nurturing the minds of our youth and young people. In return, we deserve to be treated with the utmost respect and consideration when it comes to our needs and well-being. Unfortunately, a recent incident has shed light on the disregard faced by our educators. The union sat in a meeting for hours discussing the plans for teachers and how we can enhance the experience of our teaching of the teaching fraternity, beg your pardon. One day was promised, a promise that no longer breeds truth. Is this not familiar? Remember when we were promised $250 for teachers' supplies, the promise of a better learning and working environment, the promise of a system to assist educators with lesson planning, the promise of going to marriage for the opening ceremony of the new school year, and the list goes on. This request, which is well within our contractual rights, was met with silence from the administration of the Ministry of Education, despite multiple follow-up attempts by the Teachers Union executive and our loyal representatives. There has been no response or acknowledgement of the request. This neglect not only undermines the morale of our dedicated educators, but also sends a distressing message about the value placed on our contributions to our community. Teachers who work tirelessly, often beyond their official hours, and face numerous challenges in the classroom, deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, including fair consideration of their reasonable requests for a single day off. The Ministry of Education has continuously highlighted the importance of health and wellness, so let the viewing audience know it was not just a day off without a purpose. The day would have been a health and wellness retreat for our educators. The Teachers Union calls on the Ministry of Education to immediately address this issue, acknowledge the request for a day off, and ensure that such disrespect and neglect do not become a recurring issue. We believe that fostering a positive and supportive work environment for our educators is essential for the overall success of our education system and, most importantly, for the well-being of our students. We urge the Ministry of Education to come better and re-engage in a constructive dialogue with our union representatives to find a solution that ensures that our teachers' needs are met and that our contributions are valued and respected beyond work. A new deal should have been on the way, but it seems as if the new deal has fallen through the cracks of our crumbling Ministry of Education. The theme for this year's World Teachers Day speaks volumes. The teachers we need for the education we want. The global imperative to resolve the teacher shortage. How can we fix the very problem the ministry is creating when you continue to take, leaving us with nothing? Our teachers are the backbone of our education system, and we deserve to be treated with the respect and consideration we have earned through our dedication and hard work. We remain committed to advocating for the rights and well-being of our educators, and will continue to monitor this situation closely. Red Stripe, and no Red Stripe may inform them that the SKTU union go strike. Reads, once again, the infamous Ministry of Education has gotten away with a clean sweep of injustice. No Friday off for teachers. Reads this communication coming from the teachers union in St. Kitts, my straight dog family. And that's not good news for the teaching fraternity. But my straight dog family, with the slow student heading very important sector in our community, or in our country, the education sector. What to expect from a slow student? The slow student, my straight dog family, had a miraculous transformation, and perhaps that's what he's looking for from all teachers, my straight dog family. And it's very, very interesting, because this slow student, my straight dog family, is one, as I said, my straight dog family, this slow student is someone we can expect not too much from. I say this because, respectfully, my straight dog family, what to expect from the slow student?
Look at
teachers.
Me, comrade. I told you how I started off as a slow student. I went to 1A4, 2A4, 3G7, 4G6, 5th form, 5G6. And guess what? I repeated. So I was in school for quite a while. But look at me today. Bachelor's in psychology with a minor in social work. Masters of education. Another master's degree in political and organizational psychology. And I would have been in a program for quite a while, since 2005, I'm not ashamed. And in 2016, I was offered the opportunity of getting a PhD.
Trust my straight dog family. His transformation offered the opportunity of getting a PhD. And he's called Dr. Jeffrey Hanley by some. But until I can confirm that he got that PhD from the university that he attended, or we got it, as a matter of fact, then I respectfully would never call him doctor. And I say so respectfully, again, my straight dog family. And World Teachers Day today, very interesting theme for 2023, which is, and I quote, the teachers we need for the education we want. The global imperative to reverse the teacher shortage. And it plans to reduce the shortage in the number of educators and grow their strength worldwide, according to UNESCO. But as we wrap for tonight's program, my straight dog family, for those who joined late, And I started late as well, and I apologize for that. But I'll take this and perhaps make this my final call tonight. Call you live. Hello, caller.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I am peaceful, my dear. You just got it. You just made it. What about you? I can see those dimples. Talk to me.
I live on the meeting today with Dr. Joe. And it seemed like today was the worst with those people who say them ask questions. I do not know what they really wrong. You look like you see them look up, you just write a list on a paper and give them and then you're going to ask. I want to know them that big grown up and woman ask them because they baby question and they ain't getting no answer and they still going to ask question and they ain't getting no answer. I do know what's wrong with them. They go in and they answer question and the man answer them. Why can't leave the man? I was just talking in the system doing work. That's shame cutting to the end of the work media. Shame cutting because they're not there to what they're going to ask. They're going to ask nothing sensible.
Especially from the first question about the CBI prison project, you know. I mean, he just went off on a tangent.
He didn't answer nothing. He didn't answer nothing. He just walk up, smile and a grin, like he's doing green jokes. And what's not it? Ask the man stiff and hard question. And to Mr. Brantley, he don't take on Mr. Brantley. He goes up in here and he cuts everybody. Everybody he cuts. And remember in 2010, one of them same minister of government, they promised to give him a shot. And he went on top of the road and a ball no mother for that. But he a ball mother now because he here a man up there say shot. He a ball mother. And going on and thinking Janice Daniel must come out and make a apology. And make a apology for what when he be with Janice Daniel had. Eh? So he must make a apology. He's sick in his brains. And he said, you can't read, but I could tell him. So you could read money because when you come down and think it's done here, so you tell me what, you could say, Patrick do that. He up there for 16 years, and he can point his finger and say he did nothing. Don't take him on. Scared you, but look at young baby, can't the woman, you say, Mommy, you want this up? Mommy, I want this up. That's how we call you. Patrick, you have a pleasant night.
Have a pleasant night as well, my dear. Good to hear from you. And as this message reads, I'll make that my final call for tonight. And this as well, my final email for tonight, which is short and to the point, and which reads, "Good night, Patches. Mark will go down in the dark pages of history as the worst and incompetent and most incompetent opposition leader. Shameful and sadly," reads this email. Perhaps I can add, most incompetent politician. And as I said to Mark Brantley, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And perhaps he can, in the rest of the time remaining, he can chronicle or catalog or just outline what has he accomplished for Nevisions and for St. Kitts Nevis in his 16 years as or in politics. For my Straight Dog family, as we wind down tonight's programming, yes, I started late, so I gave you back the time, as we always promised to give you 2 hours, and I'm sure giving you back the time. And I know it's time for bed, and especially those in Europe, it's perhaps long past your bedtime and you're still with me in Norma, in the UK. Elsie, you are still up. Mr. Leader, you're still up. All the UK posse, I should say. But we address the dismal failures of Mark Brantley. Apart from undermining of his political colleagues and in his campaign for a fair share of the CBI monies, this seemed to have forced him to explore a relationship with Dr. Terence Drew, the new Prime Minister. But Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge moved quickly from chapter 1 in her book that chronicled the failures of a man, his party, and the administration he leads in Nevis. And each episode in Brantley's political life, she chronicled, often using the word incompetence. And from the insight given by Janice Daniel Hodge, as a whole, a book will characterize Brantley from his beginning, his life of corruption in politics, arrogance, and lack of accountability for running the economy of Nevis into near bankruptcy, a Straight Dog family. But across the channel there in Nevis, the premier and leader, if he was in some other country, he would have been already impeached or taken before a special prosecutor for a full investigation for improprieties and a total lack of accountability when it comes to the spending of the people's money, taxpayers' money, money belonging to you and I. And I say so because Mark Brantley, as his leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition in Parliament, has never made any attempt to operationalize the Public Accounts Committee in the National Assembly. And if we reflect from 2000 until this day, never has been that committee functional. And on the 3 occasions, or now the 4 occasions, Mark Brantley had that opportunity 3 times. And he has failed again by Straight Dog family. Standing Order 70 clearly outlines or clearly stipulates that there shall be a standing committee to be known as the Public Accounts Committee. But as we wind down tonight's programming again, my Straight Dog family, Mark Brantley has been a failure in so many ways in terms of his stewardship and lack thereof as the Minister of Finance in Nevis. Ironically, the Minister of Finance in the federal government is acting the same way. And they have now created a political love affair as they seem to both like the same things and act the same way. My Straight Dog family. Just last week, Mark spoke about this woman and her face. And like we've heard, he always ridicules the women. He seemed to be afraid of these women. And he said this just last week about a woman, my Straight Dog family. And this is so disgusting. Really, really disgusting. He said this.
I went to an event today and I looked around and I saw a particular lady. And the lady used to be a good looking lady. And I say used to be because she faced so vexed that the good look she used to have looked like they've disappeared. And I said to my colleague who was there with me, I said, Lord, watch this woman's face. Face twists up like you need an iron to iron out she face, how she face twists up. But face, when I tell you twist up, you need one of them old goose. That they can't iron out with regular iron. You need a goose to press out she face.
And he said this about Dr. Bartlett, Patricia Bartlett.
The kinds of
Remember
pronouncements that Dr. Bartlett comes up with. I mean, I know she's a vet, and so she has spent a lot of years not having to communicate with humans. So I don't know if that has affected her ability now that she's seeking to communicate with human beings, right? Because, you know, dogs and cats, I suppose, they communicate with her in a different way. I don't know. But those skill sets you can't necessarily take now and apply to humans. You're now talking to humans. And humans have a brain and they're going to ask questions like, well, why you say that? And what you mean by that? And how come you just discover certain things?
But Hazel Brandy had this to say about him.
My second term of office began in January of 2018 under a new premiership. In my second term of office, I witnessed the steady hand of late Premier Amri and his respect for others being replaced by brash disregard for people. His modus operandi of teamwork being replaced by self-aggrandizement. While Premier Amri's emphasis was on the empowerment and elevation of others, this has been replaced with the belittling, demeaning, and threats of being made irrelevant meted out to anyone who dares to disagree with those at the top. With my basic tenets being integrity, transparency, and accountability, I found it difficult in accepting, condoning, or conforming to this adverse manner of leadership. As a result, I found myself ostracized, not for lack of qualification, certainly not for lack of performance, definitely not for misappropriation of funds, and absolutely not for pilfering of government's resources.
But 12 years ago, Daniel Douglas had this to say about Brantley.
Only you have sense. Nobody else in this parliament has sense. It bothers me because there is no need for that kind of arrogance. He's the most intelligent person in the world. He's the most sensible person in the world. He's the richest parliamentarian in the world. It's a glimpse of the nature of the member for Nevis. Arrogant, pompous, talking down to people. And that's not a good attitude for a politician. You need to change your attitude. You need to stop talking ill of people.
But Janice Daniel Hodge, and I said I've never met her personally, and I look forward to meeting her one day. But she outlined the chapters in her book, which I took the liberty to name. And she outlined from the first chapter the fiscal mutilation of the Nevis Treasury. My words.
In the very first chapter, I note that since 2015, the fiscal status of Nevis has been mutilated. Our debt is now approaching a staggering $600 million, and this staggering debt continues to increase, notwithstanding that the government has collected approximately $700 million in tax revenues and nearly $500 million in CBI funds. The CBI funds, a treasure trove of funds to spend. Yet the treasury is bare and empty, and our narcissistic premier has managed to run this once proud, prosperous Nevis into near bankruptcy.
narcissistic premier. What a description. Second chapter. Go like this.
In the next chapter, we see that Premier Brantley was the Minister of Foreign Affairs for 7 years, yet has failed to attract any foreign investments. There are minimal local investments and little trade. The Premier bragged that there were investors waiting out to sea until he took office. Well, they have all come to shore, but resorted to fleeing as far away as possible from this Premier. He has made announcements of hotels, including the Canley Resort, the Ammon Resort, the Windham Resort, yet none has been realized. He has promised to turn on the geothermal switch in 2017, but now, some 6 years later, with no investors, the federal government has had to step in. Sadly, our Premier has been reduced to an administrative handicap.
Administratively handicapped. She also raised the issue regarding the state of health care in Nevis.
The next chapter brings no comfort, my people, as it reveals sustained failure. And although it pains me to discuss it, I must mention that the current state of healthcare is alarming. Still, the Premier considers it the best that it has ever been. The many who have died prematurely, leaving loved ones to mourn, the lack of basic medical necessities that haunt the community centers and the hospital, insufficient healthcare professionals, and those brave enough to weather the stressful environment are left to turn stone into bread. In response, we cannot turn a blind eye.
His many incompleted projects or incomplete projects include the Wally Beach development, as well as for other chapters.
My people, I turn the page to the next chapter about the Holy Water Taxi Facility. The Premier and his team laid out a majestic development plan for the area, inclusive of the pier, reception building, gift shops, and parking area, all at a cost of $6 million. The project was scheduled to be completed in 2018, but now, some 5 years later, this too has suffered a similar fate as the Alexandria Hospital. It remains incomplete, with a pier and some abandoned Sunday school benches pitched under a tent, presumably provided for comfort. Shabby at best, yet the $6 million has vanished, with a need for additional funding to complete the project.
And to crown it all is the criminal offense of Mark Brantley and his CCM Nevis Island administration as relates to the social security contributions deducted from civil servants and not paid into the social security fund with the matching contribution.
As regrettable as it is, I must turn to the next chapter and discuss the social security contributions that the NIA has collected but has not paid into the Social Security Board. This behavior is egregious. I have seen a letter from the senior manager addressed to the Nevis Island administration complaining of a whopping $9.1 million of contributions of the hard-working men and women of this country that have not been accounted for. I then looked at the date of the letter, only to be further stunned, since the letter was dated May 2022. It is not clear what the Nevis Island administration has done or is doing to remedy the dilemma, but the outstanding amount continues to increase. When many of our citizens attain retirement age, they may very well be heartbroken when reality hits and they come to realize that they have no pension. Our teachers, doctors, nurses, fire personnel, cleaners, you name it, they deserve better.
And she promised more chapters will come. But there is no sign or hope for that matter, that the government's internal auditors will make any headway in finding the missing money, as clearly many millions more have disappeared. Dr. Joe made mention of $120 million owed to Social Security by the Development Bank. But did he overlook the hundreds of millions owed by the NIA under Mark Brantley? With all these incomplete projects in Nevis, we know that the money is gone. It has disappeared. But we don't know what Mark Brantley and the CCM NIA spent the money on. While we await the remaining chapters, and even before its release, we commend Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge for demonstrating the real strength of a woman to stand up to that bully called Mark Brantley. And for what we have heard thus far, Straight Talk endorses the book of Mark, chapters 1 to 5. Many millions more disappear. And that's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. But I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, I want to thank you, the callers, the emailers, those of you who listen from all over the world. I must let you know in departing that you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say humbly a big, big thank you. I am Ian Patches Liber, and God's Spear. We will connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until that time, be good to yourselves. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Go to church. Do your chores. You may want to go to the beach. To the beach. The weather is improved. Whatever you do, please do it in moderation. And remember that whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light and thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees,